and getting help. Jovonne and I happen to talk about a lot of different things, but that was a different conversation. And I welcome that conversation. I welcome the resources, because you can't, the Shaka Khan is saying, I'm every woman. It's all in me. It's all in me, but it ain't meant for me to do everything. And that I'm every woman is being able to identify with another woman. Like we're able to identify with sister Nistas and women and even our male listeners, because we've got over 20% male listenership who hear the podcast, and even our non-Black listeners. We're all in this thing together called life. And so to a point and in a stage where you're the sandwich one, where you got those children college age or young adults who are not fully living on their own, and you're still having to care for them. You got a parent that their physical health is declining at a rate where you've got to step in and do something. You can only do your best.
Welcome to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, where we get VIP access into the lives of Black women, or as we like to call us here, our Sister Nistas. We get to hear from some of our favorite Sister Nistas as they share their worlds with us and create connections, exchange realities, ideas, and baby, we get to recognize and celebrate how powerful we really are. Our sisterhood here is real, filled with peace, wisdom, hope, love, light, and laughter. You know, the kind you can feel, the kind of encouragement that confirms we can do anything because we have, and the kind of inspiration that proves we can be even greater. This is our world, where if you ain't a Black woman, you may want to be one, or definitely get to know one. It's a Black women's world, and we welcome our Sister Nista lovers too. Welcome to our queendom. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and I'm your host, TracyMac. Come on in and relax and sit with me for just a little while. Peace.
Well, hello, everyone. I am TracyMac, your self-discovery companion, the professional peacemaker, and host of Black Women's World Podcast. That's the BWWP, baby. Listen, I know you already see, for those of you who can see myself and one of my dynamic co-hosts, Jovonne Cookie Jones. Say hey to the people, Jovonne.
Hey.
She always say it the same way, hey. And for those of you who can see, we're missing our other dynamic co-host, Miss Dina Hamilton. So you saw one episode where Dina was present and Jovonne wasn't, and now we have Jovonne with us and Dina is not here. And I say all the time, considering our schedules and how busy we all can be, I count it a miracle every time it's all three of us. So even with Jovonne, because she and I both have things to do before and after this particular podcast. So thank you for being here. Jovonne, how you doing?
I'm good. It's been a heavy week, or past couple of weeks, but hey, this is my life. I'm built for it.
Yeah. Something you said earlier when I was talking about, we both were sharing how much we have going on. And you were talking about, we get bricks thrown at us. And what was that you said about what we got to do with those bricks?
I said we have sometimes bricks that dump on our shoulders, but we just shake them off, spray some biofreeze on our shoulders and prepare for the next load. Because that's what it is.
Because life can throw some things at you. And today we kind of want to touch on a couple things, but the main thing is when the roles reverse. Jovonne and I are both in the generation, and so is the demographic of our listening audience, where we have aging parents. So we're that sandwich generation where our parents are aging and our children aren't quite adults that are fully on their own or can have self-sustained lives. And it can be quite a bit. Jovonne, when did that shift for you? Because I know your situation is different when it comes to role reversing in your life.
Well, my mom got sick when I was younger. So my role reversed from being a kid to kind of like being a little teeny mama in the house with two brothers and my father. But, I grew up, left the home at 18 and became more so independent, but it's now reversed again because my father is aging, and my mother is still in a facility where, it requires some form of caretaking on my end, back and forth, back and forth. So the role reversed early, and then it sort of balanced itself back out because I established my own family, and now back again to being a caretaker. And even when I was married, my in-laws, it was kind of reversal because I did have to care for my mother-in-law to a certain extent, along with her aide. So
yeah. And Jovonne, and I remember those days. Rest in peace, Miss Genevieve Jones. But I remember those days when you literally had to physically, care for Miss Jones when the nurse was not there, because the nurse had particular hours, but Miss Jones required 24-hour care. And I commend you on that now. And even then, because that was tough. At least from me looking at it, I was like, how caring for an adult, because she was in the home bedridden. And you had your own mom in a facility, and your dad wasn't up in age as he is now. And I just it was just so commendable. But yet at the same time, I've always wanted to make sure Jovonne took care of Jovonne. And how is that balance for you? Or were you ever able to balance it, or was balance? I like the word alignment more than balancing, because my life ain't never balanced. But
I would say that exact same thing. It was never a balance because it was just such a shift that went from low key mom, wife to just upbeat, having to go, having to get here. Never having that time of what does Jovonne want for today. It was always based on somebody else's care, somebody else's needs. And I neglected myself. I mean, to the fullest, neglected my marriage, sometimes even neglected my kids, because I needed to make sure my mom was good, my mother-in-law was good, and my dad was good, So I didn't notice it at the time. I just got so used to a certain schedule. I got to be home by 8 o'clock. The nurse leaves. I got to do this, got to do that, got to do that. So you don't notice it. You just know it has to be done.
Yeah. And sometimes people don't understand the obligations you have. And, people say, well, you have a choice. Yeah, but sometimes those choices are hard to make. I look at my own life now. My parents are in their mid-70s. They live in two separate states. My dad is in the same state as I am, but he's 2 hours in one direction, east, and my mom is 2 hours north. And with them aging, and both of them live alone. And it's difficult because when those roles reverse, and our listeners, because Jovonne, we've got new listeners in Australia. We've got hello, mates. We've got over 22 different countries. And I know people, no matter in what country, sister niece and sister niece lovers, that people are in the same situations we are in. Right. And how to deal with that. And I don't know if the word successfully is appropriate, but how to deal with that and not lose yourself. Is hard, because you've got their doctor's appointments. You've got to help them understand their medications, help them, my mom is not able to drive as much as she used to. She can't drive to see me anymore. My dad doesn't drive as much, and they've got different ailments that most times come with age, but and even the way the medical professionals deal with the elderly. I got to burr up my butt about that, because I just don't like it for the most part. But, Jovonne and I were talking, and it came up with three things. So those of you who are listening or watching Jovonne and I, whether you be in one of the 22 different countries or our top 5 states, which North Carolina hit number 1. Thank you, North Carolina. Right, and Atlanta is number 2. Texas is number 3. New York is number 4. And we got some new listeners, and I've never heard of Grisham, Oregon. So hello to you out there. Abington, Pennsylvania, never heard of that area. Hello to you. And La Vista, Nebraska. Thank you all. But we know that a lot of people are in the same spot we are in. And you have to, number one, and I know people get tired of this word, of this combination of words, in order for you to understand how to stay in alignment. And the reason why I say alignment and not balance, because I always think about balance as in a scale. And a scale has to be like this in order and my life is never still. So I look at alignment. where this has to line up with this in order for this to work. And you have to make this happen in order for this to work. And it takes planning. But that number one thing Jovonne and I are talking about is self-care. I don't care who you have to take care of or who you have to help. You have to take care of yourself. And Jovonne, what did you say earlier about your form of self-care that may not look like self-care to other people?
Self-care to me was working. Working was my escape from my reality. So even I remember things that got so heavy in my life, I enrolled in school. I was like, you know what? This is so heavy. I need to take a class or something. That class ended up being a whole degree. So in funeral services. So it was so much going on in my life. That was my escape. My classes were my escape, I had no idea at that time that was what did it for me.
Yeah.
So
And some
sometimes
people
need,
go ahead.
sometimes need vacations and getaways and things like that. And that was my getaway, just educating myself on something totally off the wall. But
yeah. And I think it also works for stressful times or times where they may be where you have to escape your reality in order to deal with something. You kind of got to have a moment in time where you just, I can't deal with this, so let me go over here. Because I remember that, Jovonne, it wasn't related to the roles reversing with my parents, but just in my life. My life at one point was so hectic and stressful that I too went back to school because I felt like I could get that time for me, and that degree was only servicing me. So I wanted to do something for myself. So self-care looks different for a lot of people. And so, Sister Nistas, I want you to expand what self-care is, because you got to remember your self-care includes your spiritual, your mental, your emotional, your intelligence. So it goes beyond manicures and pedicures and getting your hair done. So Jovonne, when you went back to school, and even though it was more time and more tiring, how did you feel when you had to go back and face the reality of caring for grown people?
Like you were just talking about balance, I felt a level of balance because it wasn't just the caretaking did not consume my entire life. I had something to look forward to. I had an assignment or I had a test to study for that took me away from what I was really dealing with wound care and different doctors coming in and out of the house and things like that. It took me away from it completely. So it's crazy because that was my self-care. Well, a part of it, so you deal with a lot, not just with, like I said, it was multiple. It was my mother-in-law, my mom, different things going on at that time with my father, not to where they are now, but it was so many things I didn't know. I was just juggling so much. And the mental battle of, okay, I got to be here, I got to be there, I got to be there. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's time for me to go to school. It's time for me to go to work. Oh, I got a job over here in another state. Let me figure this out. Let me figure out how I'm going to work this. I couldn't wait to get to where I was going, even though it was work related. That was my way of escape.
Yeah. And then, and I agree. And even though work is not, there's a scientific fact I read the other day that there is nothing in the study of human life and biology that says we have to get worse as we get older. That those are things we've accepted. And I know there's a lot of, debate about that whole subject, but I don't think we have to accept a lot of the aging things that are expected, especially in our American culture. And more so in Eastern cultures. When I lived in Japan, there was a level of respect and homage that you pay to older people that I don't think we have as much in our American culture. So even as we age, we have to take care of ourselves, because a lot of times, I know in your case and mine, you can talk about your own way better than I can. You are the glue, and so if you don't take care of you, so many other things, let alone your immediate family, your parents, extended family, but your business, that thing that gives you livelihood, that things that allows you to earn the salary so you can help take care of other people. Talk on that for a minute, Jovonne.
Oh, girl, it's real. It's real. If I fall apart, I'm just like, I can just name everything else, not trying to be overly confident, arrogant about it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I know I am that to everybody.
Yeah.
And God put me here for a reason. And God makes sure that I have it to be just that. But at the same time, I can't just go all in and not take care of me. I have to figure out a way, even if it's an hour or 30 minutes, I have to figure out a way to find that peace for the moment to refuel.
Yes.
Because I can't do it just off of fumes. I can't.
And then you can't put yourself last, because it's something I wrote, toot my own horn, in the book of purpose. If you keep putting yourself last, you teach people to keep you there.
To keep you there.
You teach people how to treat you, and your purpose is the lesson plan. So in caring for other people, so that point one is that self-care. It's not selfish. It's, if you want me whole, then I got to take care of me so I can take care of all of this.
That's right.
So people, you're going to put yourself first, and Jesus, people will use an old acrostic that's not in the Bible, but it's in Christendom. Joy means Jesus, others, and you. Somebody made that up, and it was probably a man. Because I understand God and Jesus, but let me tell you something. There are times, Sister Nista, specifically all over the world, and in whatever city, whatever country you're in, where you have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
You have to. Because then you can't be arrogant with it, but you have to put yourself first. Take care, just like on an airplane. You're going to pull the oxygen mask down first for you so you can help other people. So that's point number one, self-care. Also, when the roles get reversed with parents, aging parents, is you have to have effective communication, even with the hard conversations. The hard conversations. And we're probably going to do another episode about end of life care and all of that when we get our compadre Dina back in here, because we would love for her dynamic to come into that. But Jovonne, what do you say about effective communication when it comes to the roles reversing in the life of aging parents?
Oh, wow. This can go several different places, because effective communication. Well, earlier you saw my dad came here.
Yes.
I wanted to go ham on, just my reaction to the way he handles certain things. It's not wrong. It's just the way he handles things. But if I went in like fussing and arguing or whatever, we would not have gotten anywhere.
Yes.
So what I did was, okay, let me see your paperwork, yada, yada, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to see you later on this evening. Now that gives me time to get my words together, so I will stay respectful to my dad. I can pull it together and so forth. And this is just in that aspect of it. We have to effectively communicate in order to be understood, to comprehend, and understand each other, period. So it's hard. It's hard because they are our parents. Yes. They taught us. And now in turn, like just as far as he has to respond to certain confirmation text messages where he has a flip phone.
Yes.
Like what? And but I know that's what I have to do. I have to go and do it for him. I need to get all those dates and so forth so he can be okay. But if he didn't come here and give it to me, I wouldn't know. So he's effectively communicating on his end. I'm doing the best that I can on my end. And I'm going to keep on doing it. This is a whole new world with my dad. My dad has always been, I got it. I can do it. I'm there. I'm on time. Pencil in dates on his calendar that he keeps in his pocket. So he's always been that guy. So now it's like, oh, you slipping? You slipping like this? You ain't but 70 so-and-so years old. But I got to face reality. Yeah. I'm going to get there one day,
Yes.
And I want the same done to me.
Yes. And that is why it's not that I do it only for the reciprocity, but my parents did their best for me. So doing my best for them is an honor. It's not even an obligation. It's an honor. The thing of it is not being able to be in two places at the same time.
Stay tuned for more of the BWWP. An Amazon best-selling author with an Art Book Club Incorporated 5-star rating and your self-discovery companion, TracyMac is setting positive change ablaze with her 3 incredible books. Well, it's all about relationships, yours, mine, and ours. In her book, Relationships, Nothing But the Truth, TracyMac brings her signature style
along with some of her most cherished relationships, talking about true experiences and many perspectives, openly and honestly, sharing intriguing stories from the provocative and controversial to the seemingly ordinary and outright funny. Your solution has arrived. If you are ready to live an amazing life of change with sustainable results and measurable success, get your copy of one or all 3 of these awesome books where fine books are sold today to start your journey.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast.
Let's continue the conversation.
But that effective communication, because even with their doctors, even with their, now with COVID protocol, you can't even go into an appointment with them. I was trying to go with my mom to an appointment. They're not letting anybody in. And, Jovonne just said, while we've been sitting here, her dad came in, he just left a doctor's appointment. My mom called about a surgery she's going to have. And so we were in real time with this, helping our parents. But that effective communication, because what really pisses me off with the health and medical industry is their treatment of elderly people when it comes to technology. Jovonne just talking about the confirmation her dad has to have with the flip phone, or my mom's computer. Elderly people aren't as tech savvy and don't need all these gigabytes and megabytes and whatever people using now. And I may be even outdated saying that, but so they don't need a lot of these big, bold phones and computers. Well, some of these virtual doctor's appointments require a certain level of hardware for computers. And if it's not compatible, you can't get a real voice. Our parents grew up at a time where a phone number included letters. And now they can't get a real person on the phone to talk to them. Everything is automated. Everything is fast. And so not only having to communicate with them, but having to effectively communicate for them. Is something that we find when the roles reverse. And our parents, they had to do it for us in school, talk to our teachers, and no matter what relationship you had with your parents, if they may not have deposited certain things in you, or maybe their era didn't do some of the things that we expect parents to do now, you just do it to help somebody, because helping people is the right thing to do to the degree you can.
That's right.
And that goes to my third point. You may be the best person to help your parents, but you are not the only.
Oh, yeah.
And whether they're your aunt, your uncle, any aging relative, or just a friend, you may be the best, but you're not the only. So this is where you call in your resources. You call in your resources, whether you have siblings, whether you have friends, whether they have friends, whether it's a type of care. Don't be so prideful that you don't call in your resources. You may be the best, but you are not the only. What do you say to that, Jovonne?
Girl, that is so true, because looking back and when my mother-in-law first, she really got sick just like that. And we left our home to care for her, to be with her. And that alone was just a huge shift. And as a woman, leaving your home, going into another woman's home is the most difficult thing, especially your mother-in-law.
Girl, I can't imagine.
A great relationship, but it was still something serious. So, but she couldn't be by herself, and she wasn't in a position to be in a home or a nursing facility or anything like that, but she needed someone around her 24/7. And then over the years it declined, but it was so heavy. So instead of pulling on our resources, and we have a very, very small family. My sister-in-law was out of state. My other sister-in-law was sick, and just things happened. We had to do it on our own, or we thought we had to do it on our own until it was like, you know what? There are nurses that can come in for this, or they're trained, what do you call them? PCAs and so forth. They can come in for certain things a certain time of the day. But we didn't utilize those things for years. And by that time, shoulders aching because you're caring for somebody that's bedbound and you don't have the experience. I never learned any kind of care for anybody like that. Even though my mom has been sick, my mom has always been mobile. but it was just learning things the wrong way and then incorporating other people later on, like, oh, I didn't even know you should do it this way or that way.
Yeah.
So you have to utilize your resources and not be so prideful thinking, oh, no one can come in and see how bad she is, or she doesn't want anyone in her home, or you got to do what you got to do for you and your family and your health. Again, it goes back to self-care. That mess will kill you if you allow it, or it will stress you out to the point where you can be sick. You have to utilize your resources, incorporate other people, and come up with a strategic plan so that thing can be executed and everybody's taken care of.
Yeah. And it's a difference between pride and arrogance. And I think at this stage, when you're sandwiched in, you got to let go of the arrogance, but yet allow yourself, or should I say, even dignity, because you want your parents or your elderly relatives or elderly friends to be just as dignified as they have always been. But when it comes to soliciting for help, finding out about help, there's some things that I'm dealing with my mom that I'm having to ask Jovonne about, because my mom is in the state of Virginia and Jovonne knows more about that system there than I do, that I'm having to say, hey, Jovonne, what about this? And then it was some stuff Jovonne had to call me on the carpet. Hey, you need to look at this. So you have to get rid of arrogance and pride and look at dignity. The most dignified way you can handle the situation for your parent, like I said, and getting help. Jovonne and I happen to talk about a lot of different things, but that was a different conversation. And I welcome that conversation. I welcome the resources, because you can't, the Shaka Khan is saying, I'm every woman. It's all in me. It's all in me, but it ain't meant for me to do everything. And that I'm every woman is being able to identify with another woman. Like we're able to identify with sister Nistas and women and even our male listeners, because we've got over 20% male listenership who hear the podcast, and even our non-Black listeners. We're all in this thing together called life. And so when you get to a point and in a stage where you're the sandwich one, when you got those children college age or young adults who are not fully living on their own, and you're still having to care for them, you got a parent that their physical health is declining at a rate where you've got to step in and do some things, you can only do your best. Don't let nobody make you feel guilty. Don't even throw a guilt trip on yourself. And use your resources. You may be the best, but baby, you are not the only. So I'm gonna review the steps real quick, because I don't want you to forget them, because there's a helpful hints in more ways than one, because somebody needs this. And if it's you, you need to let us know that you're picking up what we're putting down. The first one is take care of yourself. That is spiritually, emotionally, physically, financial, in every way. Take care of yourself. Jovonne, you got any extra nuggets on the self-care, since you had both ends of it, not doing it and then doing it?
You hitting it. Just that's it.
And explore other ways of self-care. Jovonne said hers was a way of escape to get out of that rut and that routine. She went back to school. Jovonne, did you get any pushback from people that saying you're doing too much?
Every day. They say you're gonna burn yourself out. You're doing too much. You got your mother-in-law, you got your mom, you got your this, and now you're in school. What about the kids? You don't have time for the kids. I made time for everything.
And they didn't realize that you were doing that for you.
Correct. Correct.
And I will even say,
for me.
Yes,
it may not work for your life or the next person's life. So,
and that's why you got to know yourself. That goes back to self-discovery, which I am the self-discovery companion for a lot of people. That self-discovery, you got to know you, what makes you tick, what works for you. I know my physical health is my self-care because I was way out of control. And I know that in order for me to live a healthy and productive and fun life at 52, that it's a physical health act. My spiritual health is good. My mental health, thank God for being kind of in the industry. I keep that. But my physical health is my biggest struggle. So I have to keep myself prioritized in that area so I can live healthy and long for everything, for myself and everything else I have to take care of. And number 2 is effective communication, not just communication. But effective communication and having the hard conversations. Jovonne and I had one. I had to have one with my mom. sister, I had to tell her, I don't think you're able to do this for yourself anymore. My dad, I do wellness checks with him. When I go to his apartment, I walk in, let me see what kind of food you got. Let me look in your refrigerator. Let me check your freezer. Let me check your bathroom. I go look, I'm just nosy Nancy.
And look,
because
my
that's
calling right now.
Huh?
I said, my mama is calling right now.
And mine left a voicemail.
You know, it's just is what it is.
But yeah, that effective communication. Jovonne, how did you enhance it? Because you said at first it wasn't there. How did you get better at that effective communication?
Being patient. Seeing, I was going to throw this in too. Another form of self-care was a therapist. You know, talking to a professional, not just about something going wrong, talking about your life. I'm at a different age and phase in my life than I was when initially the caretaking started with my mom and my mother-in-law. So talking to someone on a regular basis, getting that professional help. Because all day long, I'm going to say, I'm okay, I'm good, ain't nothing wrong with me. All along, I'm walking around here looking crazy as I don't know what. I'm feeling crazy, you know? So, and when you begin to sort those things and begin to apply some things that your therapist is encouraging you to do, and writing things down and jotting things, and you're like, you look at it on paper, it doesn't look or feel the same as when you're actually dealing with those things. So therapy, I'm telling you, I mean, it changed the whole game. Somebody else from the outside looking in saying, look here, you need to get some real balance, and this is a way of doing it and tweaking these things so you can be much more effective to your family, to your parents, and to those that you service in your career.
Yes. Jovonne, that is so true. Therapy. I had my first therapy session back in 2004 for different reasons, but I keep a therapist. I have a therapy session once a month because of the fact, not because I'm weak, but because my life is just that grand. I have so many things. Because it's great. You have girlfriends, but let me tell you, sometimes they can be therapeutic. It should always be therapeutic when you got the right circle. But most of the time, your friends are going to whine, WHINE, and wine. If you get a good wine and a bottle of wine, you can kick back with your girls all day long. You may feel better when you leave, but a lot of times the solution has not been discovered. You don't have the tools to go back into life. And that's what therapy can be, or even coaching, or a combination of the two. So in those ways to help you communicate, because sometimes you have this battle going on in your head and it stays right there. And therapy, especially CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and talk therapies, help you talk it out. So you can get those things that may be a little too harsh for you to say to the aging relative, or even to your spouse or your friends. You can get those things out, because your therapist can't have feelings. And I know from a step, your coach can't either, because I've been coaching for years. And so things people can say to you that they can't say to their relatives, give them scenarios of how to play things out. So that effective communication, talk to somebody. And you can't talk to everybody about everything, but you should be able to talk to somebody about a lot of things. I always say there's no one person in my world who knows everything about me. But when you put them all together, when you put my significant 5 together, they can tell you everything. But I don't tell one person everything. But you know, and then the last one, you may be the best, baby, because you are the best. I think, Black women, we've had to be the best. We go unrecognized and unnoticed, and you may be the best. But when it comes to helping other people, you ain't the only. Jovonne, bring us home with that. Reiterate.
You have to utilize your resources and get other people involved, or you will burn yourself out. You will be no good for anyone. Anyone.
Yeah.
So, do what you got to do.
And I will say this to Jovonne, even Jovonne and I, we got this type of relationship where I don't know if a lot of people would understand, but even though Jovonne's a stylist and she does makeup and all kind of funeral services, I mean, what don't you do, Jovonne? But anyway, she can cook, she can, but Jovonne, my mom, is getting older, and there's certain ways she likes to look and whatever. And, my mom was wearing wigs, and I've always thought my mom's natural hair was so beautiful, but I can't put my opinion on my mom like that. But one day I will tell you, the past month or so, Jovonne sent me a picture that she had done my mom's hair, and it brought me to tears because I saw my mom's whole spirit change and shift. from how she was looking when I saw her about 3 months ago versus how she looked that day on those pictures. She had her sass back, even if it was just for minutes. And I got to thank you, Jovonne, because you were that resource that even though that's your profession, I know how to kitchen beautician stuff that I could have, helped my mom. But you stepped in, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving my mom another level of confidence as she's aging. She felt so much more like her regular self. And I want to say thank you, baby. I love you for that. God knows I do.
You know what time it is, girl. That's what we do. Yeah, you know what it is.
But I want to thank you for sharing, because these type of topics, I think a lot of people steer away from them. Some people don't know what to do. So if you don't know what to do, hopefully Jovonne and I have been transparent enough to let you know some of what we are going through. We don't even have the full testimony yet, other than God keeping us on a daily basis.
Right.
And it gets hard. We laugh now, but I've shed tears. It gets hard sometimes when you wonder, like, God, can I take another brick, Lord? You're going to throw another brick at me. And all the while being able to take these three things and take those bricks, catch them, and use them as stepping stones, So hopefully we've used our bricks of roles reversing with our parents to hopefully help you step up and be better and feel better about whatever you're dealing with in your life. So join us in the Black Women's World private group on Facebook. We thank our new Australian audience for listening, our new audience in Oregon and Pennsylvania and Nebraska, our ever faithful ATL. Thank y'all for faithfully listening to us. And North Carolina, thank you for being number one. Virginia, come on up, baby. But anyway, Jovonne, anything else before we go?
No, ma'am. I appreciate you for this conversation. This is necessary and definitely something I think I needed to get off my chest too, because no one knows. I don't talk about it, and it could be helpful to somebody else.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm going to expect, and I set the intention that we're going to hear from people, maybe like we haven't heard from people before on the positivity and the hope and the peace that we hopefully have exuded to our audience all over the world. So I am TracyMac. I want to thank you for being with Jovonne and I. And next week, we're going to have our third wheel, and our buddy, Dina Hamilton, will be back with us next week. So much love and peace to you from all over the world. I'm TracyMac and Jovonne Cookie Jones.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP. Brought to you in part by TracyMac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time, so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of Sister Nistas and Sister Nista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what Sister Nistas do, on purpose through mission with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my Sister Nista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, TracyMac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.